Talk about a shot in the dark. Aric Almirola shakes up the playoff picture by winning at New Hampshire in a darkness-shortened race. Two unexpected winners in back-to-back weeks, and now with 4 races left before the playoffs, the pressure is cranked up even higher. Hey fans, welcome to Backseat Drivers. I am Alex Weaver. I'm excited to have these two guys joining me here in studio. All the way from the New England booth, NBC Steve Letarte is back, and on the opposite side of the table in his first season as Vice President of Competition at Hendrick Motorsports, Chad Knaus. A ton in store on today's show. We'll get into more of the drama in New Hampshire. The start of silly season has officially begun, and the battle of the Hendrick Dream Team. So let's get right into it. The playoff picture's been shaken up from 27th in points to locked in. We have Aric Almirola, Kurt Busch, who was back and forth over the cut line for the last month, wins at Atlanta. Steve, playoff picture a little different there, huh?
Completely different. I feel bad for everyone at RCR. A couple weeks ago, they said, oh, we got 2 cars in. This is going to be stress-free. It's going to be awesome. Now they have 1 in, 1 out, only 5 points apart. I think it's going to be pressure-packed because with 2 road courses in Daytona, I'm not even sure that they feel good about getting either car in. So I think the stress is rising quickly and welcome.
Chad, you know what the pressure of the playoffs is like. It's downtime now, 4 races to go. So what's it like for the playoff picture?
It's tough. It's hard when you're sitting in this position, as like Stevie said with RCR, because you've got one guy that you think can run pretty good at a road course. You got 2 opportunities there. They both have an opportunity, I feel, at Daytona, but that's their solid opportunity, and that's really the only opportunity that I see for the 3 car. So those guys back and forth, it's going to be really tough, and I think there's another couple guys that may be on the brink of like, man, if we don't step up and start getting ourselves into position to win, we could potentially be up, because there's a lot of these guys that are just like jumping up there that you didn't suspect.
Well, if I would have told you that Aric Almirola, first car for SHR, you guys would have believed me, right?
I would have lost that bet. You should have went straight to the sports book with that one. You could be retired by now.
Exactly.
But he did it in dominating fashion. He was fast. He was really fast, and it wasn't like he was just fast at the end. He was fast all day long, competitive, awesome pit stops. Those guys did a great job all day long, and I think they deserve that victory.
Yeah, especially that final pit stop, a heck of a stop for the 10. Well, Chad, who's going to be on the outside looking in when it comes time? Daytona will be the last regular season race. It's going to be a crazy one.
It's so difficult. This season has been so bizarre for so many folks. But I'm going to throw a name out there. People won't appreciate this, but I'm going to say the 4 car is really in a tough spot right now. They're not performing at the level you would expect. Oddly enough, once Aric Almirola gets in there, that puts a lot of heat on that driver, puts a lot of heat on that team that they have to perform. Sometimes it works. Sometimes that can propel a team into victory. Sometimes it can go the other way and start knocking it down. So I think I have 4 teams in a little bit of trouble. The other one I mentioned just a little while ago, I think the 3 cars in pretty bad shape. I just don't see them being able to compete consistently enough to be able to get into the playoffs.
Man, oh man, I had the 4 in my championship 4 in January. Steve?
It's going to be hard to make the championship 4. He's not in the playoffs. I think Kevin Harvick makes it. The team I really think is in biggest trouble is RCR. I think the pressure is going to be there for the 8 and the 3 racing at the cut line. They're going to get so worried about points, and I really think they need to worry about a win. When I look at who's behind them, I think Ross Chastain could win at the road course. I think Ricky Stenhouse could go back and win. Matt DiBenedetto could win at Daytona. So that 8 and that 3 car are going to battle over these points, and I'm not sure points are going to be enough. I think their whole focus needs to be victory lane. So RCR could strike out and be 0 for 2, and that would be amazing when you go look back a month. I thought both would be in.
Definitely is going to be a different dynamic there. Both drivers trying to compete for that playoff position. Well, before we look ahead to the future of NASCAR, let's take a quick peek back at the past. Both of you members of the Hendrick Motorsports family, and we had to make it a little level playing field. Chad, I'm putting you on the hot spot here. Let's go with 2011 Hendrick Motorsports lineup. We have Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Mark Martin. Or 2021, your current lineup with Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, and William Byron.
Legends of our sport going against up-and-coming legends in our sport. So if you're telling me where I'm sitting right now, what group do I want? I'm definitely going to take the young guns of the group that we have today.
So you picked the right year to make it kind of a coin flip, going with 11. If you'd gone back like 07, 08, 09, you would have got 2 solid answers for the older guys. I'm going to go old school guys for the simple fact that I'm going to look at resumes. And I think, to Chad's point, the young guys are unbelievable. But that older group you talked about, well, in 2011, they had double-digit championships. So, like, that's a long ways, right? When you start talking about a group that has that many championships, that many race wins, I can't even count that high. I'm going to go with the old school in 2011.
All right, I'm just going to stick up for the young guns like Chad over here. 2021 lineup, their average age, Steve, 27.
Well, yeah, listen.
Years left.
I mean, if I was starting a team, I'd hire the young guys.
Well, let's do this. Let's come back in 10 years,
There you go.
And we'll do the same question again, and let's see who wins.
Love it. Love that. Okay, well, the change in the guards definitely already happened at Hendrick Motorsports. That drivers' meeting looks a lot different now, but now we're seeing the future stars of NASCAR claiming their rides throughout the NASCAR Cup Series. Silly season is already in full force. Last week, Hendrick Motorsports announced that Kyle Larson's contract had been extended, as well as a majority sponsorship for the number 5. Steve, Kyle Larson has shown his dominance this season so far. Can he be a championship contender now through 2023?
Yeah, he's a championship contender anytime he sits in the car. And I'm actually going to give it up to the guy who's sitting next to me. I think it's because of the people and the men and women at Hendrick Motorsports. Kyle Larson can drive. There's zero doubt. He can push the pedal and steer the car. It's all about the equipment he sits in. I think Hendrick Motorsports has shown over the last 25 years, even in the dips, they find a way back to figure it out. A new car coming next year, so there's going to be a lot of challenges. But I've worked with Chad a long time, and I know regardless of how it looks in January, by the summer they'll have something figured out. And because of that, I think Larson is going to be somebody that we're all going to have in our championship for as long as he wants to sit in that type of equipment.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like grocery carts, Kyle Larson would be a championship favorite lately. Chad, you obviously have to have a lot of faith in the number 5 over there.
Absolutely do, and it's not only just Kyle, it's the team. The team itself is young. Cliff Daniels, young. I expect Cliff to be the guy for Kyle Larson for a long, long time. I think that relationship is growing. I think that trust is really growing, and those are some things that you can't buy, right? That trust, that respect. You have to earn that over a period of time. Those guys are doing it, and they're doing it weekly because Cliff is making solid calls, making good decisions. Kyle is driving the car in a proper manner, and they're out there and they're racing consistently. They're not just throwing races away saying, okay, we're shooting for the fences every single week to get victories. They're not. They're being very consistent, very methodical about how they're approaching every weekend. So I think those guys are legit.
Team Penske's also moving in a younger direction. Brad Keselowski and Matt DiBenedetto are out at Team Penske for 2022. Austin Cindric will be driving the number 2 next season, and Harrison Burton will be in the number 21 for the Wood brothers. Let's talk Cindric. A ton of wins in the Xfinity Series. Chad, we know the Cup Series is a whole different battle on Sundays. Do we think that he can be a contender, a legit contender in 2022?
Frankly, no. I haven't seen the performance out of him. Now, look, can that be company-wide? Can that be an issue of him personally? I don't know. The expectations that I had of Austin at the road courses of going out there and just leapfrogging and running at a super high level based on his experience, it hasn't shown up. The opportunities have been there, but he hasn't been able to capitalize on it. So I'm not seeing it just yet, but now I think we all can agree that the Penske camp isn't necessarily running at the level that we expect them to be. So you get him 6-8 months into this thing, could shift tremendously, but right now, I'm not seeing it.
Sundays are tough. The best quote I've ever heard is I was talking to Cole Custer, and I told him that Sundays are like the deep end of the pool, and he laughed. He goes, no, Sundays are like the ocean. They drop you in. You don't even know which way the shore is. And that was his point. He goes, it's not a little tough. He goes, I had no idea how hard it was. When you line up 25th in a cup race, he goes, you can't make a mistake because the guy in 26 will go by you. He goes, the Xfinity Series does not prepare you for that. Once you get back outside the top 10 or 12, you out-equipment the guys behind you by so much. There are legitimately 20 to 22 cars that Eric Almirola proved it. On their best day, with the right setup, they're going to win. And we forget perhaps at times how good all of those race car drivers are because they don't have the best cars every week. So no, I think Austin Cindric has a great career ahead of him. But a rookie year, I hope he has low expectations and a lot of patience.
It'll be a little different. Austin, they both have Twitter now, so if you want to talk to them about
he has my number. He can just call me. I have a conversation with him.
Well, we're just getting started with Austin Cindric and Team Penske, but the final season for another team in the NASCAR Cup Series garage, Chip Ganassi Racing. Kurt Busch has a win this season. He's now locked into the playoffs, but we know the brain has already switched a little bit to what 2022 will look like and where Kurt will be. He spoke with Corey LaJoie on Stacking Pennies last week and said he wasn't ruling anything out. Steve, let's start with you. The booth, 2311, Trackhouse, where's Kurt Busch going?
I saw his interview on the start-finish line in Atlanta when he...
The most excited I've ever seen Kurt.
I officially will say perhaps more surprising than the win is Kurt Busch, one of the most popular drivers in NASCAR. It was great. The fans loved him. He played to the crowd. He specifically, in the moment, the heat of the moment, said, I want a chance to drive that car next year. That sounds to me like a race car driver, not a TV analyst. I have Kurt Busch without a doubt behind the wheel next year. I think he's a champion, and he proved, Chad, in my mind, in Atlanta, that with the right car, he can still do it. Because much like Eric, he didn't win it on a restart. He led the most laps. He proved that he still has the talent to get it done.
And operating at a high level all year long. And that team, I mean, kudos to that team. I mean, talk about a bomb being dropped.
Yeah.
And they came out not just in Atlanta, but the week prior and ran really well, qualified well, ran up front in Road America. So I see him driving a race car. I don't think I see him in a booth, but we've all been surprised in the past, but you just never know.
Yeah.
All right, Kurt Busch, 2022. Here we go. Let's do a little rapid fire. Shorter answers for these. Chad, we've watched a ton of careers take off, the progression of drivers. Harrison Burton's in the number 21. Good fit for him, yes or no?
I think so. I think that's a great fit. That Penske alliance right there is going to be really good. I think it's going to be great for Wood Brothers. They've got, they're just kind of like a little bit of a quieter Penske team, right? So what that does is that gives him an opportunity to get into the environment, learn, get his feelers out there, understand the cadence of running a 500-mile race or a 600-mile race at Charlotte, which is very difficult, and it's going to give him a chance to grow, and then I bet in just a couple years he moves on up in the ladder.
Your buddy Jeff, pretty excited about it.
Very excited, as he should be. Anytime as a dad, you see your son succeed, it's spectacular. Now he gets to see his son run in the Cup Series where he made his career, and I think the Wood Brothers are a great fit. I think Harrison actually could be one of those drivers that's much better on Sunday because he is just not the aggressive driver on the restarts. He actually takes a little bit of a breath. I think 500 miles will be exactly what he needs. I watched the young man run a lot of late model races, and he is much calmer than his years are. He might be better in longer races.
For the record, I met HB 4 or 5 years ago on a NASCAR Next trip. Knew the kid was headed somewhere, so it's a talent that I'm excited to watch. Steve, flip side, Matt DiBenedetto, out of that ride, where can he possibly go next season?
So I love Matty D. He's a nice guy, but the problem that Matt has is this is professional sports. This isn't intramural football, and I'll be the cold guy that says that winners get hired. And he's had a chance to win a couple races. He's yet to come through. He might have a chance at Daytona to go to victory lane. He ran well at New Hampshire, but it's tough. He doesn't have a lot of sponsors behind him. I can't think of a brand that's backing just Matty D. I'm sure some seats will open up in the garage area, but I don't see it being a seat anywhere near as good as the 21 car. He might want to take a John Hunter Nemechek approach. Remember, John Hunter fell all the way back to the Truck Series, and now look at him. Tons of win, leading the points. Matty D, it might be that reset time. If he gets a chance to get in winning equipment, Chad, I think that's the key for Matty D in any of the top 3 series.
I just don't see that opportunity arising. I hadn't thought about that angle that you put out there. That's really great. And another one we just spoke about, Kurt Busch. He did the exact same thing, right? He's up at the top level. He goes and he drives for James Finch, right? Drives that car, does reasonably well, then gets monstered, then gets the opportunity, and boom, now he's back up at the top. So sometimes you just have to take a step back to step forward. But that 21 car for him was, I think, a really good opportunity. Unfortunately for Matt, he just didn't perform at the level he needed to.
Well, you've taken on a new role, both of you, so let's talk about that. Steve, let's start with you, Inspire Motorsports. What's that role been like?
Really pretty simple. It was really just to get the team off and running at the beginning of the year. They were committed to run 2 cars. They needed some help with some of the competition side. Now I'm full-blown TV, guys. But it's been good for me because so much is changing in the sport with the new car. It gets me closer to a team that can answer some of my questions. My job will always be to try to deliver the best storylines to the fans, and I need knowledge to do that. And being closer to a race team has helped. But now it's maybe a couple phone calls a week. Normally one to Chad over there who provides one to the pit crew. So it's just not a whole lot anymore. But it was good. It was good for me. 7 years since I've been in the garage area. So it was a good little refresher.
Chad, you have a different role, obviously. We've talked about it at the top of the show, too. But a lot of people are crediting you with how successful Hendrick Motorsports, at least a step in the right direction for how successful they've been this season. Talk about your role.
My new role, it's a little different, obviously. We've got the 4 teams with being overseeing all of the development, the production, the race teams, the pit crews, the future development, the future tools. It's a lot different. You don't get that immediate report card from my perspective right now because a lot of things that I do are working 2 weeks, 6 months, a year down the road from where we are right now. So it's a lot different, but it's fun. Obviously, we've won a bunch of races. I can't take credit for any of that. That's all the guys. We've got some of the best crew chiefs and some of the best drivers and some of the best journeyman mechanics and fabricators at Hendrick Motorsports that I've ever worked with in my life. And when these guys and gals get motivated, they can do some incredible things.
More anxiety, less anxiety?
Oh, definitely more. Definitely more because, well, you go through and like with Nashville, for example, perfect example, right? We've got one car that wins the race. Everything is fantastic. We got another car that is completely disqualified because of loose lugness, so you finish dead last. So it's like, okay, so where do you fall when you're in the middle of that type of situation? So the ping pong effect and the bantering back and forth is a little more difficult.
Well, let's do a little Phoenix talk. I'm going to torture you guys now. Steve, only 4 races left until we know the full 16 field who will compete for a championship run in the playoffs. So we're just going to skip on ahead and get your championship 4. Who you got running for a championship in Phoenix?
So 3 easies. I got Kyle Larson in the 5 for sure. The 9 of Chase Elliott, no doubt. 18 of Kyle Busch for sure. I've struggled with the 4th. I believe a Team Penske car will get there. Either Blaney or Logano. As great as Brad ran, I think the distraction of 22 will somehow kind of creep its way in through the playoffs. I do have a Ford in there. They run too good at the 750 tracks. If they could somehow avoid the disaster at the low horsepower tracks, I can get one of the Penske Fords to join them. I'm going to leave it open-ended, though. I can't be wrong if I don't give you a pick.
See, this isn't fair. To put me in this position.
Well, you should just pick 4 cars and just coast your way out of here.
Well, I mean, I could easily go with the 4 HMS cars, obviously. That's a really easy pick, and I think you nailed it with the 5 and the 9. I think they're definitely capable of going into the playoffs and making it up into Phoenix. Getting next to that, I think that if you look at the 48, he's got an opportunity, but he's got to continue to perform at that high level at a more consistent rate. So I think that they've got to work on that. Now, the 24, they've been very consistent, so they could potentially do it. But they're going to be the two that are really going to have to step it up at HMS to be able to make it into the Final Four, because I feel like the 18 is going to be somebody that's going to be very difficult to compete with, and I think the 19 is one that's going to sneak in there. But I don't see a surprise.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be pretty clear by the time you get to week 8 who your horses are going to be.
Yeah, we'll leave the surprises up for who the final 16 is, because that's definitely going to be a different story when it comes to the end of Daytona. But 4 races left, and it's just now getting started. It's always a pleasure when I get to hang with you two. Thanks to you fans at home for tuning in, and make sure and check us out here on the Backseat. We have a nice little Olympic break coming up, but we're going to enjoy some off weeks. I know these two will take advantage of it, and we'll see you right back here on a very special episode. We're not taking any weeks off, so tune in then and see you.